Morning. It's the first day out of quarantine and I'm now in my work hotel. Check out the view. They put me up at level 33 so I can see the whole city of Shanghai. Today I'm about to head to the HQ office in Shanghai and pay them a visit for a few days before I head over to Beijing. Hopefully I'll get some time to actually explore the city a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely awesome to be free and be able to explore and leave the quarantine area for sure. Alright, talk to you guys soon. Hey guys, done with my first day of work with my Shanghai boss. I'm in Shanghai with my boss Vincent on technically my first night in Shanghai where I can see outside, and he brought me to the bun, right? Or white tang. White tang. So pudong is there. Pussy is behind us. Pudong. Wow, if you look around, you really can't see much foreign tourists. I feel quite privileged, like, to be a tourist in this country at this moment in time. You see people are also not wearing masks essentially because it's quite safe here in Shanghai. I'm not trying to rub it in, but Vincent reminded me to tell everyone that the weather now is really nice.
20 degrees.
Yeah, it's 20 degrees, so it's nice and cool, but it's not so cold that we have to wear any jacket or any winter weather stuff. It's really not that crowded because, you know, it's not as crowded as what it would be normally if there are tourists. And life is pretty much normal here. Everyone's just walking around without a mask, and some of them are wearing a mask. Really cool. Hopefully this will be like this throughout the rest of the world as well. If you're wondering why the lift lobby is so dodgy, this is actually the staff lift, the workers lift, and I'm on a level where it's meant for the staff. The reason is when I was checking in on the day, it was completely full. He arranged for a special room that they reserved just for the staff, so it's not really meant for the general public, which is why, like, it's you know, not so pretty. But the room itself was fine. Hi, 你好，我要 check out。对啊，中文不好。这个是我的发票的名，你可以放我的，我的公司了。你可以放在我的发票。So this is the fapiao, or I guess official receipt, and I need this in order to claim from my employer here in China. So fapiao is a very common term, and everywhere they go, they need fapiao. If you go to a hospital, you also need fapiao, the receipt, in order for you to process your claims. Anyway, it's time for breakfast. 谢谢啊，师傅。
不客气。你这边系好安全带，到虹桥 T2 航站楼。
虹桥飞机场对吗？
虹桥飞机场。
Yeah，
你是 T1 还是 T2？T2。T2。
对。
OK。
对不起啊，我的中文不好啊。
没事，哎，对 ，OK， 接上了。
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm on my way to Shanghai Airport, heading towards Beijing. After staying here for about 3 days, I didn't really get to see around the town that much. I'll be sure to come back and visit. Thought I just want to share with you some thoughts about my stay here so far. I think what's really cool is that Shanghai is almost back to normal compared to the rest of the world. We went around to like some of the attractions. after work, such as the bun. And you can see that there were a lot of locals who was visiting. The weather's really nice and everyone's kind of gathering. It's not compulsory to wear masks here. You only see some of the locals wearing masks. The service staff are all wearing, which is good as a precaution. But generally everything's back to normal, as you can see. The city is hustling and bustling. The only thing that's really peculiar is that, of course, because of the restrictions to international travel, you don't really see many foreigners at all here. So I feel quite privileged to be around. I'm definitely going to come back and explore more of Shanghai. But in the meantime, I'm heading towards my final destination, which is Beijing. Being in Shanghai, I was also able to settle some logistics that's typically required when you're trying to settle down. So through my colleagues, we were able to open a bank account for me and also purchase a SIM card, and that allowed me then to have access to the e-payment functions, and now I'm kind of good to go. But I want to caution you, this is one of the more trickier logistics to handle. Opening a bank account is not as easy as it seems, because if you were to go to some of the bigger banks, they're quite strict in terms of what the documentation is required. From my understanding, in order to open a main bank account, you need to have your work permit first. A business visa doesn't really work. I think the only reason why I was able to open an account is because my company has a good relationship with the local bank. So that's something to take note. Well, you can use your credit card for some of the bigger main purchases, like going to your hotels and stuff like that. But going to a local restaurant or 7-Elevens and a convenience store, you might not be able to use your international credit card. One of the other reflections that I have being here in Shanghai just for a few days is how large the country is. To give you an example, I was mainly in the Shanghai district of Pudong. My hotel is there, so is my workplace. For me to get from my hotel to the workplace, I have to take a cab, and it takes about maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. Essentially, the Pudong district itself on its own is almost like the size of the entire Singapore. It's bigger than Singapore, in fact. Which is like 40 kilometers by 50 kilometers. You essentially can spend the entire of your stay in Shanghai or in China in just one district because it's so big. The one thing that you need to get used to is the amount of time it takes to travel from point to point. The transport is really convenient, you can get your taxi through the e-payment really easily. You just have to get used to the fact that everything is kind of far apart. So when you are moving from one particular district to another, for example Pudong to Puxi, is almost like going from Singapore to Malaysia, or like going to a different country. So when I first arrived and they told me that, oh yeah, you'll be in Pudong and your hotel will be quite near the office, I thought quite near was like 10 minutes away, but quite near was actually like half an hour away. Coming from a small country like Singapore, you really have to grasp the sense of the size and the expense of the place. Anyway, heading now to Beijing, taking a domestic flight. Takes about 2 hours to fly to Beijing. We'll see how that is. Alright, just got into the airport, and one of the things that you have to do once you enter the airport is wear a mask. The security officer told me to do that, but otherwise generally it's pretty normal. No one's wearing PPE or anything like that, so let's check it. If you can tell by my surrounding, there isn't really any foreigners around. I think I'm like the only one flying. So it feels kind of weird. Interesting times indeed. So awesome and weird at the same time. Alright guys, I just cleared through the customs and immigration, and here we are. It's really quite efficient and quite fast. I was actually expecting it to be a bit slower, but things were pretty quick. I think I took a total of maybe just 20 minutes to clear through the immigration. I think one of the things that I find is that the people are really friendly. I'm not sure whether people are just generally like that, or maybe because I was trying to speak Mandarin, so people were a bit more understanding. I think it really helps if you put an effort to try to speak Mandarin with them. So everything's all good. Right now, I really need to use the bathroom. guys, I'm in Beijing. And guess what? Like the checking out was so quick, I didn't really have to do anything. It's pretty awesome, eh? This is my driver who picked me up from the airport. So we're about to head to the city, I guess, to where I'm staying. 从这边到酒店多久？30分钟。Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.
北京来过几次？
几次是什么？
我是看北京 ，1 2 3 4。
哦，一次，一次，这个是我的再一次。
1。
my first time。
第一个工作。
第一个工作。
北京的 office。
对。
真漂亮。
哦，你看到？你是我们的同事还是不是？
我是，叫什么？part time。
哦，part time。哦，明白。你做什么？在医院做什么？
我就是driver。
开车 ，OK。
你是新加坡还是马来西亚？
我是新加坡的人。新加坡的人，不过我不是华人。
哦。
我是马来人。
马来人啊。
对。谢谢你。Okay. We're done tomorrow. I see you. This is the picture that they were talking about. My boss was telling me that every room has a very unique picture, and he warned me about it, and he said, you'll see when you get there. So I guess this is the one. I like how his thing is angling towards me. I'm not sure how to feel about that. But welcome to Beijing, guys. I'm finally here after so many months of waiting, and about 2.5 weeks of traveling. Awesome. Awesome.